Bercakap mengenai kenderaan elektrik yang semakin mendapat nama di Malaysia dan juga secara global, sudah tentu kita mahu memberi fokus bagaimanakah tumpuan kepada kenderaan elektrik ini kepada dalam menuju masa depan karbon yang rendah. Dan izinkan saya berbahasa Inggeris untuk kita berbincang bersama tetamu kita pada kali ini. In the low carbon future, electric vehicles EVs will become a common sight on roads as businesses and consumers opt for a more environmentally friendly transportation alternative. Getting there, however, requires a lot of different parties to work together. EVs, for instance, will have to be affordable and accessible to the masses. A reliable and convenient charging infrastructure has to be built so that EV users can drive their vehicles without any worry. Tenaga Nasional Berhad TNB wants to play a contributing role in Malaysia. Already, it has been partnering with key organisations to facilitate a sustainable and holistic EV ecosystem. Understanding the rage anxiety of EV users on long-haul journeys, TNB is collaborating with Plus Malaysia Berhad to build EV chargers along the main through way for Malaysians travelling across the country. And now please welcome our guest today, Anthony Lim, the Senior Editor from Polton.org. I want to say thank you very much for joining us this morning. We want to discuss about the automotives, the rise of electric vehicle in the low carbon future. So how do you think the growth of EVs in Malaysia will be influenced by the government's policy and incentive? Let's start with that.
Well, I think with all the tax incentives, it is very important. It's going a long way in getting electric vehicles to be adopted. Now, how long can these incentives last? That's the question, because you can't keep going on forever. At some point, it has to stop. And when that does, how will people react to that? And will they still buy cars? That's a bit of a question right now.
Do you think when you said how long will incentive life, will that be the biggest obstacle to the adoption of EVs in Malaysia? And how can they be overcome, or what else challenges you see in this industry?
Oh, right now, I mean, cars are as cheap as they can be, because the thing is, cost of EVs right now are still very expensive. Of course, that will change. I think obstacles to the adoption of EVs is basically the fact that people are a bit afraid of the technology. It's new, right? And also, you also have fuel subsidies, and the fuel subsidies are also making it, in such a way that people are not going to look at other things because they have something that's comfortable. You can fill your petrol and you can go. Until that changes, then the adoption of EVs will probably be a bit slow. People will have things where you will buy expensive cars, but will they buy more electric cars because of that? I don't know.
And what opportunities do you see for Malaysian companies in the EV supply chains, as we call it, such as battery production, changing infrastructure, or even EV manufacturing?
Well, everybody is looking at cars right now. I mean, that's the glamorous part of it. The bigger element, of course, is the production of components and technology. And that's where I think Malaysia can be very much part of the game, because, a car is still something you see, but there's a lot of things and technologies that are inside the car. And that's where, say, for example, Malaysian companies can get involved in not just manufacturing vehicles, but say in batteries, battery production, in basically components that are very crucial to an electric vehicle. But we need to get a foothold now, because if you don't move into that segment and start, producing these things, then we will be left behind.
All right, talking about the supply chain, it usually involves the environmental and societal impacts. So what kind of environmental and societal impacts that can contribute by the supply chain that you anticipate from the widespread adoption of EVs in Malaysia, especially?
Well, I think there's two parts of this question. I mean, the environmental part of it would be basically, it will be cleaner. For sure, if you have everybody using electric vehicles, then it's going to be quite good for the environment. But there's also the idea of how do you then recycle batteries? How do you then dispose of batteries? That's something very well down the line, maybe about 20 years from now, 30 years from now. From the societal part of it, obviously people will have to change their mindset. You're not just filling petrol and going, and it's easy for you to move around. You still it'll still be easy for you to move around, but the thing is that from your mindset has to change about how you want to go about. You have to charge the car. You have to remember to charge the car. Things like that. So that's pretty much it, actually.
Anthony, in less than 2 minutes, we want to understand about the competitive landscape for EVs evolving in Malaysia, maybe for the 5 till 10 years next. But we want to understand because EV electric is on the rise. Many have said it's quite pricey. But in the next 5-10 years, how do you see the competitive landscape for EVs involving in Malaysia?
Oh, of course, it will get better. It will get better like anything, like just like phones, it was expensive in the beginning. It's cheap, very cheap now. Electric cars will become cheaper, for sure. And once that happens, then you get more people into the segment. Right now, it's still very much a rich man's game, so to speak, right? And even at 130,000, 140,000 for a car, it's still out of reach for many people. But when you get to the 50 to 60,000 range, 70,000 range, then you will basically get a lot of people more interested in it. It will still take some convincing. People will still need to be convinced about the technology to go in. People who want it will want it. People who don't will need to be sort of like, explained. Everything has to be explained to them. They have to understand it and then want to go in.
Definitely, there's a lot of effort for us to understand how the importance of a rise of electric vehicles in a low-carbon future. I want to say thank you very much for Anthony Lim, the senior editor, Polton.org, for helping us understand on this issue. And right now, we'll be taking a short break. We'll be right back.